Hey guys, this is Solution Podfic, and today we're going to be reading Red Hood's Greatest Supporters by SFD. This is Chapter 3. Bruce Wayne is 45, and he doesn't understand people. He doesn't understand their emotions, doesn't understand what's so bad about this, but then that is fine. He doesn't get it. He's not sure he ever will, despite many people's efforts. Because fundamentally, he is a simple person with a complex mind, and this does not always benefit him. Take his motivations: help, protect, save, and then add a mind that processes more than it can handle, then throw in an onslaught of trauma that just never gets worked through, and add a sprinkle of Alfred's stubbornness. Everything becomes warped and twisted. He's got wounds, and they're not healing, and he's bleeding over people he loves, and this is where Batman comes in. A band-aid. A mask of indifference to control his emotions. Because as Batman, he can make a change. Bruce Wayne is an orphan who just so happened to have a safety net of gold and green to fall into. But Batman is born, and Batman is real, and suddenly Batman can help, protect, and save. At least, that's what usually happens. That's what is meant to happen. And I thought I'd be the last person you'd ever let him hurt. It'd been approximately 2 years since the Red Hood arrived at Gotham, taking crime into his own hands that is, he'll so very reluctantly admit, effective in method, even if morally corrupt. 2 years since the altercation between Red Hood and Red Robin in Titan's Tower, and 2 years since Bruce had gotten confirmation that his son is alive. He doesn't understand that either. Since then, the interactions haven't always been pleasant, but Batman has begun to notice a trend, a steady decline in the dead bodies birthed by the crime lord, a rising pattern of team-ups between Red Hood and a bird. Never a bat, though. It's given him hope that maybe, just maybe, he can get his son back. For real. And then, 3 weeks ago, Batman hears whispers. Batman always keeps an ear to the ground in Gotham. He has to if he wants any advantage against the criminals he fights to put away. But his ears will always prick just that much more when Gotham whispers about his vigilantes. But the rumors are so silly that, at first, Bruce simply dismisses them. At first, being the key word here. For him, it all starts with a run-of-the-mill mugging. There was a man, likely trying to get money for his family, but going about it the completely wrong way, attempting to mug a teenager. Now, never will Bruce say that he does this for the praise. Never. However, he's sort of come to expect, after past experiences, that people feel grateful towards him. He's either just saved their life, or saved their friend, or saved their possessions. So yes, to some extent, he expects at least a thank you. Stay away from me, you hater. What? As his eldest son would say, excuse me? It does not escape his brain that the teenager he saved is male, but not at birth. That didn't matter to him, but does that mean, taking all limited context, that this child thought he was a hater? Bruce brushes it off. Lots of people dislike Batman. Bruce didn't even count that circumstance for a while. So far back in his mind of odd things that happened to him that he ignored it and almost forgot. Then, Tim comes home from patrol, confused and bothered. Red Robin, report. Tim, his cowl off, but still in uniform, runs a hand through his hair and shakes his head minutely. I don't even know, B. I went to Rebecca for details of the splurge of drugs people are taking, but she accused me of having a problem with the trans folk. He quotes this exaggeratedly, staring at him as if to say, can you effing believe this? Microscopically, Bruce rears his head back a little. What? Red Robin has made it clear that he will protect anyone of any background, especially those in his own community. He says as much to Tim, and the boy snaps his fingers. Right? His son swallows and starts taking off parts of his uniform, his gloves, his belt, his shoes. But then, she also says something that was weird, even for Becca. She said maybe you should check with who you're hanging with. A person's our friend after all. What the flip? Bruce opens his mouth and, you need to stop using such dated and quite frankly cringe logo, Drake. It's unbecoming of you, though I expected nothing less. Bruce let out a sigh, pinching the bridge of his nose without thought. A reflex at this point when dealing with his children. Damien, what have I said about unnecessarily insulting your siblings? Damien is unrepentant, simply waves the man off as he walks down the steps from the manor, as though he is reaching nursing home age already. Without any particular reason, both Bruce and Tim develop a twitch in their right eye, for no reason. Coincidental entirely. Who even taught him the word cringe? Tim mutters petulantly. Dick. Bruce sighs internally. Or Stephanie, he concedes. Externally, he sends Damien one last disapproving look before returning to Tim. You've cleared this up? Tim scoffs. Of course. What's more worrying, though, is that the misinformation attitude seems to be targeted at the entirety of us, not just Red Robin. You haven't come across any instances similar to this, right? Bruce remembers the feeling of getting hit by a bum bag from a child shorter than his pecs. Stay away from me, you hater! He says instead, focusing back on the back computer and plugging in the USB of information. Not recently, no. Bruce is a big, fat liar. But then patrol night happens and reports start stacking up. Damien gets his karma and comes to the cave with multicolored mustard stains and glitter in every crevice of his body. When Dick tries to take a photo, the young man slips and falls, leaving an unfortunate splat on the ground that takes much too long to clean up. Tim eventually reveals the photo he'd taken, having lurked around to hide an injury, and Bruce pays him with a new skateboard and a lecture on safety to get it. Then Spoiler and Red Robin get their bikes vandalized, similar to how Damien was attacked, but much more clear with the message of why. Stephanie has, of course, embraced it and used the excess to draw war paint on her cheeks. The girl had wanted to keep the bike how it was, but Tim has already been suffering enough with this new movement, what with Damien also paying him back for the photo he'd found out about, and so Bruce fought her off with a stick. Duke's room in the manor isn't as lived in as the others. He only comes by when he feels like it after all. But as his sort of not father but more than co-workers, Bruce likes to take it upon himself to be the one to help Duke with his homework. He notices a poster. He notices the corner had been teared off by a reason he cannot discern. He especially notices the bold words of, "Don't get bitter, just get better," emblazoned in blue, pink, and white, colors he's been getting much too familiar with lately. And he still doesn't understand why. Why all these allegations? Who began this rumor mill to begin with? And again, why? When has Batman, any one of them, ever presented as transphobic? Who did they piss off, and who pissed them off? It was Damien, wasn't it? When his daughter comes slinking into breakfast, all Bruce can do is sigh, hold the bridge of his nose, breathe in, and then out, in, out, in. I like your pen, sweetheart, he smiles tersely. Cass grins, happy and with a too-knowing glint in her eye. She bloody well knows what's going on, doesn't she? When's her next Hong Kong trip again? Jokes, jokes. Kate, as Batwoman, poses in front of the graffiti and grins proudly. She tries to get the right angle. What are you doing? Batwoman startles, straightening up and whirling around. Harper Rose, Bluebird, stares at her unimpressed. There's a brief silence before Batwoman offers her phone. Take a quick pic? A minute passes and suddenly Batwoman is posing in front of Fuck the Batman. She does a peace sign. It goes viral on Twitter. Master Bruce, I do not believe that staring at the screen for the past, weekend has done anything for you. Alfred, are you any closer to finding the lost soul who started this? Exactly. Come, Master Dick has arrived, and I'm sure your son will want to do anything but this. I know. Thank you, Alfred. Of course, sir. Now let's get out of this cave. They go back to the cave. It's a struggle that he's not entirely proud of to hold back the smug smirk that threatens to pull his lips when Alfred stares at Dick in disappointment and resignation. His eldest, having greeted the family members in the manor, dumped his bags in his room, goes straight down to the computer in the cave, practically dragging Bruce as he does, to try and figure out the mysterious trans activist. It's a struggle that is technically lost because he's pretty sure he leered too hard at the butler. The elder man harumphs and stalks away with a British poise that perfectly conveys just how ticked off he is. So, any other instance then? Can we at least narrow down where the movements are centered around? Using the mouse, Bruce clicks into another file and pages full of pictures of buildings, street signs, notice boards, and posters fill the screen. So far, regarding any interactions with us, it's been limited. That doesn't mean they haven't been moving, though. In fact, they seem to be gaining traction and have roped others into decorating the streets. Another page. It's mainly the lower end of the city, Crime Alley especially, but look, even the docks have evidence of transgender regalia. It's confusing. Dick furrows his brows, eyes darting and analyzing each picture. No offense, but how would a resident of Crime Alley even be able to afford all this merch? They'd need a serious paying job. Exactly. They work like this for the next hour and a half. Bruce compares the artistic style of the graffiti murals, of which there is at least 3, and looks into the surrounding stores that sell spray paint as Dick surfs the internet, focusing on the Gotham Civil Rights social media area. It's a relief to have his eldest back, though perhaps he wouldn't say that in so many words. Even just working a case together is nostalgic, like the earlier days, and he will always enjoy his son's presence, especially since he can use Dick's enthusiasm as an excuse to understand this defamation. As they nearly breach the 2-hour mark, Alfred comes down with refreshments and a light dinner, pointedly setting it on Dick's side instead of the middle, just to be petty. Never let it be said that Alfred is a saint without judgment. Dick leans back and chews slowly, eyes scanning the dark cave above them, thinking. Bruce glances at him before focusing on his own meal of cheese and ham toasties with tomato soup. They eat quietly together, the screen of the bat computers highlighting them and the trills of the bats above flying in the easy silence, until Dick decides to break it. Do we actually know if the person you apparently hate crimed is trans? Or heck, even know and support this movement? That doesn't make sense. No. Why wouldn't they be? Bruce asks, furrowing his brows as he tries to follow the logic. Dick shrugs, using a spoon to scrape the last bit of soup from the bowl. Well, I don't know. Wouldn't someone who supposedly got rejected by the Batman for being trans, something no one has ever claimed before with the evidence against it, want to spread the message? Get some clout, make a YouTube video? It would rile up the media, that's for sure. Maybe gain them some extra money, but he shrugs again. It almost seems like all of this is done on someone's behalf, you know? Whatever, Dick sighs, waving his pseudo-father off. I suppose all we can really do now is just wait until this thing either clears up or another offense happens. He gets up, putting his plate and bowl back onto the tray. I'm gonna head back up. Damien wants to show me Titus's new trick, and Deke and Stephanie want me to play this new game with them since Tim's at the Titans for the weekend. See you, B. Bruce stays put. He already knows that if he leaves now and doesn't make some kind of breakthrough, his mind might as well stay in the cave. But that is beginning to hurt from the glare of the screen as he analyzes what they've compiled. Take in every photo and camera footage. Reread the notes they'd written, trying to see if their vague hypotheses are valid or are just a stretch. Done on someone's behalf. He hadn't considered that. He doesn't really want to. It opens up a whole other area to investigate. But he knows he probably should. In his solace, Bruce lets out a tired groan as he drags a heavy hand down his face until he's cupping his jaw. He leans back, scrunches his eyes open, and shuts a few more times. Takes a deep breath, and then focuses once more. Batman has other cases. Bruce Wayne has meetings to prepare for. And yet, how can he do either when he's getting accused of being transphobic? He's an ally, guys. The alarm on his phone goes off 20 minutes later for dinner. Proper family dinner. And so though he doesn't want to, though he's not particularly hungry, Bruce manages to heave himself out of his chair. Bruce leaves the cave, defeated by an assailant of blue, pink, white, and glitter. And then, like an angel descending from heaven, Bruce gets a call. The break he's been looking for. Barbara Gordon. Bruce doesn't believe in God. Not really. He's seen too many things to believe in a being to be absolutely sure of one thing. One personification. Sure, his parents raised him Jewish, and he'll go through the traditions when they come around. But that's more of a respect for them than genuine belief. Bruce is the kind of person who needs to see something to believe something. However, this does not mean he can't understand why others believe in him. And that doesn't mean he respects them any less. So, though there's only so much he can contribute to the St. Mary Foundation, besides provide money and logistic planning, he's still very much interested in helping a food bank get off the ground in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. It's when he's just finishing the finer details with the head of the project, Lee Marshall, does he get the call. Shooting Lee a sheepish smile, they pause the conversation, and Bruce tilts his phone up to see that Barbara calling. She never calls him during the day. He frowns before he remembers his company. I'm so sorry, Lee. He looks up at the man and is grateful that the other doesn't seem annoyed at the interruption. But I should probably take this. Lee waves him off, shuffling some papers before getting up. No matter, Mr. Wayne. Bruce, please. We'll take a 10-minute break, Bruce nods gratefully and waits until the other is out of his office before quickly answering, faint anxiety crawling through his veins as he does so. Barbara, what's going on? Are you hurt? Bruce? Yes, it's something. Bruce, yeah. Her voice sounds rushed. Shh, look, we've got to talk. He swallows, clicks his pen. Okay, go on. So I'm at work right now, and I think I've just solved your crisis. This gets Bruce to sit up straight, eyebrows raised in disbelief as he subtly checks the clock. Is it too early to leave? Which one? Which? Bruce! The one you've been wrecking yourself over the past few weeks? Closing his eyes, much more less tense, he scratches his nose and sighs. That could mean anything, genuinely. Yes, but which one? The trans one? The one where you're getting slammed? Really? He interrupts her, sharp and shocked. It's silent over the line and he winces. Sorry, just, really? Tell me more. Her voice sounds annoyed, though enough that he almost grins, were he not so interested in the answer. He resists pressuring her to hurry up and just tell him. I'm trying to, she stresses. Shut up for a second and I'll get there. They both wait a moment, waiting for the other to speak before finally, Barbara begins to explain. There was this gentleman, likely around 30, who was looking around for books. I helped him. What kind of books did he get? Sometimes, despite his age and experience that states otherwise, Bruce feels a little like a child. A child who can't hold their tongue, too excited to wait the mere seconds it would take for their questions to be answered. Or at least, that's how Barbara makes him feel. As I was saying, Bruce winces. I was helping him find a book about getting your GED. He has a niece, by the way, likely living with him. When I noticed that there was a surplus of books centered around transgender support, biographies, and education books. Bruce is gripping his phone. Hard. When asked, he told me that he was helping educate some people. He swallows. And? He's a goon, Bruce. For Red Hood. He lets that hang as though that was the most delicious clue or plot twist ever created. Yes, it was surprising. But where is the correlation? What does this information do for him besides send a pang of pain with the reminder of his wayward son? Unless... No. Bruce is aghast. Yes, Barbara confirms fervently. I didn't believe it either at first. I still don't entirely, but Jason's transphobic? I raised him better than that. The silence from the other end is sudden and heavy and full of disbelief and judgment. Lots and lots and lots of judgment. Slowly, Bruce blinks. He turns over the statement in his mind, reminded himself of the context, the exact words she had used, and then collated all of this with the amount of sleep he's had for the past week. Perhaps sleep is actually important. Perhaps the best detective mug in the cave really should go to Tim. Only a disappointed sigh greets him when he puts his phone back to his ear. Barbara, I'm going to let this slide for you, purely because I know you've been dealing with the Scarecrow and his new concoction. However, please note that I'm going to recover this conversation and that this will go straight into your blackmail folder. Yeah, he deserves that. The man's name is Craig Tucker. He's been under the hood since the takedown of the cartel and is with a daughter and a niece. He's sole guardianship over Bolt. He is also, she says sharply, Bruce braces himself, 110% certain that the Red Hood is a transgender male who was rejected by his family, e.g. us, or more specifically, you, and he is not happy with your continual rejection. Barbara's tone is accusing, but Bruce doesn't understand. Bruce doesn't understand. What? No, seriously, what? Bruce? Mr. Wayne? He looks up sharply, eyes wide and mouth gaping. Lee is there, a worried look on his face. He's hanging at the door as if unsure on whether or not he should go in. Bruce needs to pull himself together. He needs to use the years of deduction and training to school his face. He needs to compartmentalize until his mind is nothing but the task at hand. Bruce needs to... Do we need to reschedule? That's... Mr. Wayne, it's really no problem. Yes, that's what he needs. He needs to leave. Yes, thank you. He stands up, wiping his sweaty palms. Bruce leans over the desk and offers a handshake. He appreciates that Lee doesn't look at him like he's glass, just another man clearly going through something. I'll have my assistant set up another date. Does Tuesday work? Of course. As soon as Mr. Marshall leaves his office, Bruce collapses back into his chair. Wide eyes stare out to nothing, and like drums, his heart beats in his throat. What? When was this a thing? Is it recent? How could Bruce not know? Is this real? Is he real? Am I real? What are Jason's pronouns? Is he still going by Jason? Or Jasonita? Is that why Jason ran away to his mother because he thought Bruce wouldn't accept him? You would know if you let him back into your life, a voice whispers traitorously. His blood stills. Barbara, are you still there? She is, and her voice sounds relieved when she speaks to him. Yes, Bruce. Is everything alright? Do you need... What was this man's name again? He interrupts. Bruce waits, with patience born from shock and a deep unfeeling emotion that spreads from his lungs to his throat to his mind. His phone feels simultaneously the heaviest thing in the world, yet as though there's nothing there at all. I'll send you the details. He hangs up. It's not hard to find a man who hands out posters with his name on it. It's not hard. But figuring out how to approach him is. Barbara had done most of his work for him and sent him a file on Craig Tucker. A file in which Bruce pores over in his office within the direct manner, to send a message to his family that he can't be disturbed unless necessary. Name: Craig Joseph Tucker. Age: 29. Height: 6'6". Weight: 229 pounds. Date of birth: May 14th, 1989. Residence: 27 Elizabeth Park Row, Gotham, 1124. Direct family members: Robert Tucker, father, deceased. Leah Tucker, mother, deceased. Jacob Tucker, brother, estranged, likely deceased. Melissa Scott Tucker, wife, deceased. Gracie Tucker, daughter, alive, 7. Hannah Tucker, niece, alive, 17. Direct responsibilities: Grace Tucker, daughter, alive, 7. Hannah Tucker, niece, alive, 18. Occupation: laborer of Red Hood, crime lord. Feels abandoned. Ignoring the pointed and completely unnecessary side note, Bruce turns his attention to the mugshot of the man. Previously gone up for armed robbery, excessive force, assault, and drug use and transport. No charges ever stuck. Whether that's from the corruption of the GPD or an unhappy yet loyal boss bailing him out, Bruce can't be sure. Craig looks different than Bruce had thought. He looks mean, cruel almost. When he'd first heard of this trans activist, Bruce had thought he'd be seeing the stereotypical Gotham protester, strong but with a good heart. When he had heard that this protester was a goon, his imagination had shifted from Gotham tough to Gotham goon tough in looks. But no, Craig Joseph Tucker is a monster of a man. A scar cuts through his eyebrows that frame dark brown eyes, a nose that had been clearly broken multiple times before that never healed right. Caucasian in skin tone, yet with a layer of dirt that makes him appear darker in different lights. He's got stubble and double piercings in both ears. Tattoos decorate his arms, back, and crawl up the man's neck. The shaved head of the darker hair likens him to a prisoner. And his physique? He makes Batman look lean, and that's all Bruce will say on the matter. Reports say he wears a chain and 2 wedding rings. Point is, when Bruce looks at Craig Tucker, he does not see strong but with a good heart. No, he sees White Mike Tyson with a grudge. Quite frankly, Bruce has no idea what to make of the man. Don't judge a book by its cover, but what about a criminal file? Working under the lights of Black Mask isn't always a choice. Bruce knows this much. But if his deduction is right, the things Craig Tucker has done, but Batman has to believe that everyone deserves second chances, and that, to an extent, no one is unredeemable. So it's not hard to find a man who hands out posters with his name on it. But figuring out how to approach him is. Dick offers him the advice of just asking to talk, as if it'll be that easy. It wouldn't be that easy, right? Bruce is right. It's really, really not that easy. Batman dodges into the swing, an enraged shout follows. It fills up the alley like it's something physical, and Batman does his best to not outwardly react. If he shows the thug, bigger and taller and angrier than him as he is, that he sees the man as a viable threat, it will only make the situation worse. Craig Tucker, I need to... You fucking hater! I don't get people like you. A fist comes down, but Batman manages to sidestep. The gap allows him to get in his own jab, yet he doesn't take it. That's not the point of this conversation. His son wanted him to converse, so he's trying to converse, but damn it, this man is not making it easy. Mr. Tucker, you meant to be a good guy, a hero. How can your people rely on you, but then you turn around on them? Why? Because shame on you. The man's eyes are bright, blazing. He's riled up, heaving and spitting mad, his teeth bared. The air around them goes still for a moment. There's space between them, and there's a pause in their fight. Batman allows Tucker to catch his breath. He does this partially to show him that Batman isn't attacking. The Batman is not going to hurt you, and please just listen to him. But he also pauses to take the other end. This Craig fellow, he seems genuinely incensed, genuinely angry, not just at Batman, but on behalf of another, the Red Hood, Jason, his son. It's odd, not because Batman believes that no one could ever care for Jason, but because, why are you so upset when I haven't even done anything for once? Of course, perhaps this deluded man has some merit. A broken clock strikes right twice a day. He had noticed what Bruce could not, and there is some shame in that. Mr. Tucker, he tries again, low voice softer than he'd usually go for a criminal. Please, I need to have a conversation with you, and I believe it's in both of our interests for you to listen. Tucker exhales heavily through his pierced nose. His hands are still up, like a boxer, and his eyes haven't stopped moving, even when he'd been catching his breath. For a moment, Batman thinks he's gotten through to the man. He thinks, maybe, words have actually served him better than fists for once. Batman takes a step forward and Tucker pulls out a gun and suddenly Bruce's vision tunnels. His body goes stiff. "I've shot worse men than you bats," Tucker threatens stonily, hard and unflinching, with flinty eyes. "I'm not afraid to do what I deem necessary. You had your chance, you blew it, and sure," the man shrugs a shoulder, "you have the chance to do some good, but quite frankly, you don't seem like a man willing to admit he's wrong. Deep down, he's a good person, and deep down, I'm not." Subtly, Bruce falters, but Batman covers him. "You're right," he grunts out. Visibly, Tucker falters. Confusion flickers across his face before it's swept away with resentment. In the poorly lit alleyway, scars littered upon his skin shine a little brighter, and it metaphorically cements the understanding that this man before Bruce has suffered as well. Bruce Wayne is 45, and he doesn't understand people, but he's got to try for Jason. You are right, Mr. Tucker, in that I have shame upon myself. You're right in that I don't like admitting I'm wrong. And you're right in that I had a chance for a relationship with my son, and I destroyed it. The gun between them lowers a little, but the safety is still off, and it's still pointing at Batman's chest. Gravely, Batman lowers his voice. "So I am asking you, please, help me with my son." Tucker stares at him, thick brows furrowed and lips pressed in a hard line. Bruce wonders what the man is looking for when he scans Batman's impressionless face. Honesty? He's never been more so. Guilt? Both Batman and Bruce Wayne are guilty of more than people think. When Bruce had first seen Craig Tucker, he had not thought the man to be kind. With his violent past dating back to school, the tattoos and his alleged criminal record longer than Bruce's foot, he had thought this man to only be aggression and nothing else. But isn't that what some people think when they look at Batman? "You called him your son," Tucker accuses in wonder, halted and unsure. Bruce feels like slapping himself, but Batman only tenses. "That's right. God damn it, that's right. Jasonita, not Jason. Maybe. Likely. Fine. Help me with my daughter." The words sound foreign, but it's a difference Bruce will get used to. He wants to get used to it. Somehow, it's the wrong thing to say, and Bruce doesn't get that because what did he do now? Be better with words, be better expressing himself, be a better father, and for what? For him to still screw it up even when he's trying? I thought you said you wanted to change, do better. Sharp, to the point, dangerous, like broken glass. The gun goes back up and points at Batman's heart without hesitation. Against his better judgment, Batman lets Bruce's emotions break through. "You believe that the Red Hood is transgender, correct?" He growls darkly, roughly, and even though Tucker is clearly getting angry again, the man nods. "Right, well, I believe that too. But let me make this clear. This is a new thing for me, and I am trying." Tucker bulks. "You mean you've never met a T-slur before? Or you didn't know your kid was trans? How are you so invested in transgender rights, yet say a slur so comfortably?" Batman questions. His attitude is unnecessary, but how dare this man call him out, and yet be hypocritical too? Tucker rears back like a cat. "T-slur is a slur? Ah, shit. Hannah might have mentioned that." He seems upset with himself too. They both stand there, bathing in the dingy darkness of their city, unsure of what to do, yet so entirely aware of their own shortcomings. Two completely different lives, utterly separate, and yet they're both just fathers trying to do their best. Batman clears his throat and tries to get the conversation back on track. "I was unaware that the Hood was trans." He speaks softly. I lost him when he was young, and, well, we weren't close when he came back. 'Cause he was trans." The white lenses of the cowl squint incredulously. "I know. Because he was brutally killing people and would go after robbing continuously." This gets an understanding from the man, surprisingly. The gun drops, allowing Batman to minutely relax his shoulders, and is tucked away expertly. "Yeah, okay. My oldest might have mentioned that as he sniffs, scratching his chin, looking a little embarrassed despite himself. "A possible reason. But the trans thing was the cherry on top, right?" Taking a hesitant step forward, to which he gets no negative reaction, Batman shakes his head a little. "No. Like I said, I'd only realized that Red Hood was a trans woman once I caught wind of you." Both men stare at each other. "You mean trans woman as in you're actually just unaware of the term, right? 'Cause see, Boss used to be a gal, and now he's a lad, so he's called a trans male, even if he had a vajayjay when, how crude. Also, what?" "Look," the large man waves him off impatiently. "I've done the reading, a crap ton of reading. Trust me when I say I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Boss, F to M, you get me? But even a man with such strong convictions is starting to look unsure of himself. Batman is trying not to judge, but it's hard. No, I don't get you. I've raised Hood for years before he left. I know he was most definitely a male, born at least. It'd be pretty hard to miss, all things considered, and even more impressive to hide. Tucker sucks in his lip as Batman waits expectantly. Ah, shit. Excrete indeed. Craig screws his face. You're weird, even for a transphobe. Want to get a beer to talk about this mess? Let him make this clear. This was the complete opposite of what Bruce had intended when he set out tonight. But, and let's also make this clear, he really needs a drink. He nods and the man beams. Great, but you're paying. Hannah sometimes makes the TikTok reference. Well, this wasn't on my bingo card for whatever year, whenever something odd or unexpected happens. In fact, she said this so many times this year with the whole movement he's kickstarted. So all things considered, let Craig say that finding the closest bar and having a beer with the Batman was not on his bingo card. But it could be worse, he supposes. It gives him the chance to educate the man at least, and maybe fix the boss's relationship. But what is he meant to do? How does one start this kind of conversation with one of Gotham's most feared and revered vigilantes, of which he, personally, has turned people against, with completely ignoring the elephant in the room and getting to the meaty part? So, he starts slamming his pint onto the table. Batman doesn't twitch, but he gives Craig his full attention. Want to know how I realized your kid was actually trans? Batman shifts. That would be a good start. Yes. And so Craig begins. He's told this story to so many people, though not as in-depth as privacy is a thing, that he's got a knack for it. Though for the man who's caused so much of this damage, he does his best to be even more emotive about it. His goal is to hurt Batman. He wants the other to recognize the pain he has put his boss through, to understand how Hood feels, since obviously Craig is the only well-adjusted one of them all to do so. Craig watches as, slowly, the vigilante becomes less of a creature of the night and more of a man. Watches as Batman sinks heavily against the leather booth seats, grip his glass tighter, and drinks more freely. He notices every little downturn of the man's lip, and hunch of the shoulders. This has been enlightening. Craig realizes after he finishes recounting everything. Batman really is just a dad who's trying his best. Craig can relate. And so obviously, I thought he was, but apparently not. Batman shakes his head, a feat that kind of impresses Craig since he remembers, in the earlier days, where the mask thing wouldn't let him. The man had to kind of turn his whole body to look at something. It was amusing. I would know if Hood was female at birth, he growls resolutely. The man pauses and Craig holds on to every word. It does make sense, however, for the amount of denial they've spouted. Batman stumbles over pronouns, right. For her to be a trans woman, they don't fit the stereotypical feminine build. It's understandable that their masculine body would prevent full self-acceptance. Good point, hold on a sec. Craig isn't conscious of the way Batman tracks his every move while he checks all the pockets of his jacket. He did just hold a gun to the man only half an hour ago, but finally, his fingers close onto what he'd been looking for. A notebook gets dropped onto the table, a plain leather book, no larger than his palm, and Craig wets his thumb to parse through to the right page. How to support your transgender boss. A guide. Craig slides the book over. Here, take a look. A list of all the times I've gotten a vibe of transness, how I've dealt with that, and other ideas and evidence. Plus, the name of a pretty good website for merch, if you're interested. He adds easily. I've done most of this stuff, but if you give it a crack, especially with your new knowledge, I'm sure she'll be feeling the love. And then he pulls a face, having just thought of something. Never had a lady boss before. Good society. In the time it takes for Batman to thoroughly look through his notes, analyze, and ask further questions, Batman had stopped at the page dedicated to when Hood got dosed with Scarecrow's fear gas, and this time Craig doesn't add any commentary, just lets the man soak it in. He's finished his beer, asks for another one, and begins to cradle a bag of chips. He watches with eyes that see more than people think as the other closes the book and leans heavily against the booth seat. Watches as, after a moment, the man places his elbows on the table and drops his head into his hands. Yeah, it's one thing to be aware of it, and another to be aware of it, ain't it? Batman shakes his head. No, how did I let it get this bad? Jason he's my son, my child, and I abandoned him. Made him think the worst. Craig slides over the rest of his beer, and the vigilante takes it without thought, drinks it deeply. Jason. Jason. It's decided quickly that Batman doesn't need to know the slip of his tongue. The man looks in no position to have even noticed it, and he doesn't need another thing on his plate. Yes, Craig takes this secret and tucks it away with the rest. It's not even worth as much as people think. Not now. A dead name is dead, after all. Don't worry, Papa Boss. Craig chuckles heartily. He heaves himself up and taps the wood in front of the other. I've got a plan to fix this mess. Batman looks at him warily. Should I be trusting your plans? Am I not your best hope? Fine. Hello, Black Bat. Nightwing. Craig says this stiffly, with reservation. He hadn't been expecting either of them, and he can't say they're exactly welcome. Well, Black Bat is cool, but... Nightwing beams at him. With a grimace and a nod, Craig acknowledges him before turning to Batman with a raised eyebrow. Batman, you've brought guests. How quaint. Actually, I think you mean quaint. Actually, I think you should shut your trap. Craig snarks back. Black Bat giggles quietly, even as Nightwing frowns, taken aback and a little offended. Whatever. Craig really doesn't care. Nightwing caused just as much grief to his boss as Batman did, and hasn't yet apologized. So, there. Pettiness justified. I thought you said this guy was nice, B, Nightwing mutters. I apologize for them. Batman steps in, ignoring his eldest. They weren't planned, but they found out and insisted to come along. I hope it's no trouble. Fine. You lot caught up to date? A serious look paints Nightwing's face, and the young man nods. Black Bat doesn't say anything, but her nod appears solemn. Good, Craig appraises. Well then, got the goods? How many times have you asked people that? Nightwing questions cheekily, as he passes the grocery bag that had been dangling by his side. Craig snatches it grumpily. Boy, not now. I'm just saying, sounds practiced. Since, you're a criminal. The underlying tension beneath his tone is obvious. Black Bat jabs her brother in the ribs, but while he winces, he doesn't take back what he said, and that's fine. Craig doesn't give a rat's ass about manners, but... Oh, I'm sorry, we got a problem here? You shook good for me or something? Well, let me remind you, pretty bird, I'm the one that solved your little issue with your brother/sister, so why don't you give me some respect? Nightwing matches the step Craig's taken and tilts his head back until they're close and in each other's bubble. He is cocky, but there's also something else under it. What's Craig looking at here? What emotion runs in this one's veins? Respect? You'd like to see that, wouldn't you? From you? Yeah, maybe I would. Be a right new change. Good lesson to learn. Aw, would you teach me then? Sir, what am I witnessing here? Craig and Nightwing pull apart, remembering they had company. Nightwing takes an awkward step back and avoids eye contact. Craig clears his throat. Nothing. Alright, let's get started then. I've got my stuff, so let's just... Yeah. They've met in an alleyway, just behind a pizza parlor. And it was because Craig thought it would just be Batman. 3 is a party, or whatever the saying is. Plus, Craig makes the big parties, so they probably need more space. Let's head to the roost, probably cleaner there too. Batman wastes no time grappling the few stories, and so Craig is left shaking his head in jealousy as he starts making his way up the fire escape. He does, however, catch the tail end of Nightwing and Black Bat's quiet bickering. Craig is father age. Too old for you. Not really, BB. Dude's only 4 years older than me, and he is a DILF. He gets too far up the stairs to hear anymore, and they use their grapple hooks anyway. Though his ears burn red, he uses the brief time alone to collect himself. Craig is ready for action by the time he makes it to the roof. Right, let's get down to business. To defeat the Huns. Nightwing! It's glorious, truly. Craig is a genius. He always knew school was irrelevant. Batman stared at the balloon with what Craig knows must be miraculous wonder. Awe at Craig's genius, and a slight hint of shame that he hadn't thought of this first. It's a girl. Smart, right? Craig puffs his chest proudly, his chest that adorns his original t-shirt from his first rodeo of group support, shucked over his undershirt. No, he had not flexed his muscles for Red Hood's greatest supporters. You certain? Despite Black Bat's question, she too wears a merch shirt. The bright colors stand out against her suit, but she wears it with grace, and Craig is proud. Batman is still staring at the floating pink balloon. Course, sweetie. I've got experience in these things. I know what works, and this will work. Ambushing Hood with confetti cannons, gaudy t-shirts, and a baby balloon you got from a servo? Nightwing asks, gaze critically sweeping over everything neatly laid out. All at once? He continues to add, doubt unhidden, with Batman at the front without any of us even talking to them? Yes, I just explained the plan, Bertie. You hard of hearing? A laugh breaks out of the vigilante and he shakes his head with a toothy grin spread across his face. No, just making sure is all. Craig nods, dismissing it as he walks next to Batman. He pokes the armored shoulder and looks down at him. Well, we'll start in an hour, so are you in or are you in? Now don't judge him. He's been meaning to talk to Craig. It's just life's gotten a bit hectic the past few weeks. Jason owes it to the man, though, to set the record straight. The phone rings and Jason tries to stay patient. Hello, Tucker here. Craig, Jason greets casually. He ignores the sharp intake of breath from the other side. Craig's just like that sometimes. Instead, he focuses on bustling around in his base's communal kitchen. He wants tea. This is a tea situation. He's spilling the tea, so yeah. Hey boss, what's up? Need me to come in? Jason fills his mug with hot water, watching the tea bag stain and swirl. If you wouldn't mind, yeah, we gotta chat about something. There's movement from the other side, shuffling and muffled voices. Violently away from the phone's microphone, Jason can hear Craig shush someone. And again. One more time. Oh my god, don't you ever shut up? Tucker? Nothing! Sorry boss, not you, his goon is quick to reassure. The man clears his throat just as Jason grabs a coaster. So, where'd you need me? Base or hotspot, or where? Base is good. My office as soon as you can. Got it. Be there in 10. Jason hangs up, with a calm he doesn't entirely feel. He walks back to his office, careful not to spill any tea. He needs it, to soothe his voice. He's got a monologue to practice after all. Craig had left the balloon, streamers, confetti, and t-shirts in the capable hands of Black Bat. He trusted her more than Batman or Nightwing to stick to the plan and do it correctly. So it's with moths in his stomach that he waits for Boss to let him in. Boss? He tries again. It's Craig. You still want to see me? The muffled voice of Red Hood's filtered through the door, and Craig takes the permission to enter. Remember, Craig. Pronouns. Red Hood sits in her chair, helmet off, drinking tea. With a flick of her fingers, she gestures for Craig to take a seat. He does so, the chair creaking under his weight, and he tries to look relaxed. She can't know, right? There's no way. Boss? I need to talk with you, Craig, and apologize. Craig blinks. This isn't what he expected. Apologize? For what? Hood leans back in her chair and answers the questions. Craig knows must be written across his face as if done in Sharpie. It's my fault, really. Hood begins. I should have spoken up sooner, been more direct, more open about it all, and that's my bad. I let you run away with ideas, let you rope in others here and on the streets. Is this? But I need to set the record straight here, Craig. Craig leans forward, eager and revering. Yes, set it straight. And please don't be upset about this, but I need to tell you the truth, Tell me, please. The truth will set you free. Not trans. Not a man. Wait, the fuck? Craig stills. His body is filled with cement, lead bricks upon bricks. He can't move himself, doesn't know how, can't think, can't blink, can't breathe. Why? No. Even with the domino mask covering half his face and shit, he really is a he, isn't he? What the fuck? Red Hood looks uncomfortable. The man, fucking men, ruining everything, skirts his gaze around like a coward before quickly grabbing at his tea to drink. Some tea spills in his haste upon the mahogany. The tea has been spilled. How symbolic. How could he? And then he remembers. In the last few inches his heart hasn't sunk to has been flattened. Oh no. Though this realization has shocked him to its core, it's nothing compared to the sudden remembering that he has a parcel on the way. A parcel full of transgender flags, pins, bracelets, hairspray, and more shirts. A parcel full of the care that Craig feels for his boss that costs $215. I need to sit down, Craig says faintly. Vaguely, he notices Hood cock his head, confused, but he doesn't care. There's no air. He's seeing the light. He's seeing Melissa. Tell his kids that he loves them. Tell Batman that he's proud of the progress the man's made, but it's all for nothing. But you are sitting down. The Red Hood's voice is deep, manly. A man's mannish voice that's manly. All the signs were there. Craig, buddy? You're not looking so hot there. Do you need some water? Some tea? His phone buzzes before he can even think to answer, and so, slowly, robotically, numb and dead, gone to the world, Craig pulls it out of his pocket. Slowly, robotically, numb and dead and gone to the world, Craig types in his password. He reads the text. Your parcel has arrived. Thank you for shopping at Amazon.com. Craig's eyes roll to the back of his head before he can help it. Briefly, possibly, he thinks he might hear the boss's concerned yell from across him, but he can't be sure. I hope he did. I want him to suffer, Craig thinks hysterically to himself before Craig Tucker slumps forward, unconscious. Red Hood hovers. Holy shit, I didn't think he'd take it that badly. Craig does not get the chance to tell the Bat Clan of the new development. He's been given the week off, paid of course, along with his boss's sincerest apologies. He's got the time, but not the mental capacity right now to call Batman and let him know. He's too busy eating ice cream at home as Hannah rubs his back and Grace paints his toenails to black. Funeral black, as all of his dreams has died. It's fitting. What is he doing? Nightwing hisses, binoculars digging into his mask. He's going off script. Black Bat just sits next to him, legs dangling off the roof. Underneath her mask, there's a small smile playing at her lips. If she were like the anime characters Tim shows her, she'd have a bright sparkle in her eyes. They both watch as Batman hesitates on the roof 2 buildings before Jason sits, having a smoke and brooding. They watch as the man briefly struggles with taking off the Red Hood's greatest supporter shirt, and they watch as he leaves behind the bright pink "It's a girl" balloon. This will be okay too, she says simply, sure of it. He can't hear what's being told, too far away, but Nightwing releases a breath when it appears neither are going to fight. A few seconds pass, when it's clear that nothing's really going to happen, and Nightwing slowly looks at the confetti blasters. Black Bat catches his eye. They grin. Phase 2 of the plan then? Of course. Jason, are you trans? The man in question chokes, his cigarette slipping through his fingers and falling down the building. He grabs hold of the ledge and swings around so he can stare at Batman incredulously. What? What the fuck? No! It was Craig, wasn't it? He got into your head, that stupid fatherly bastard. I told him. I bloody told him. Batman tilts his head, uncharacteristically uncertain. So, you aren't trans? No! Nightwing and Black Bat burst out from behind them, pop off the confetti cannons. Each throw a blue, pink, and white shirt that seems far too familiar, and surprise, motherfucker! Taste rainbow! Bruce still had the notebook Craig Tucker had given him. He gives it to Jason. While the specific topic is no longer relevant, Jason keeps it anyway. Jason keeps the book, but he also keeps one of the t-shirts his most loyal goon had made him. Not only had they donated the rest of the man's merch, but Jason had also repaid him for the cost of the whole thing. The book, of which he, with Craig's permission, sends off to one of Bruce's connections to be made into a genuine little handbook. It was, you'd like to say surprisingly, but it's Craig, so it's really not. It was very thorough. It warms his heart, makes him feel loved, and it keeps the photo too. The one of his lackeys, probably Rodney, as that man has some skills with technology, had taken from the security cameras of the party, where Jason is surrounded by his goons, surrounded by banners and streamers and that cake with that shitty pun. Craig Tucker is at the front, a wide and blinding smile on his face, and the words on his chest warms Jason every time he sees it. Red Hood's greatest supporters. Are you at least gay? Some type of gay. When I wanna be, yeah. Good enough. Alright guys, and that is the end of Red Hood's greatest supporters by SFD. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next video.